You're listening to 89.7 FM Eastside Radio. This is Natasha and The Dialogue, where we interview remarkable people. So there are not that many remarkable people in the world. It's quite interesting. When you start looking around for remarkable people, your standards kind of go up and up and up, which is quite difficult because you want to kind of maintain it. But I'm very excited about my guest today because he's definitely up there with the remarkable people. And I have on the show today Barry Dubois, who is the co-host of The Living Room on Channel 10 and a whole lot of other things as well. But I think he's best known for that. Barry, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Natasha.
It's a pleasure. Now, you have a 5-hour long interview life, and we have 30 minutes.
Let's get that going. Yeah.
So we better get ourselves going a little bit. I'm going to take you back to the beginning when you were a child, because obviously some of the things that you've done, you're known for your building renovation, your property. You're known for the living room. You're known certainly for your work with cancer and the Cancer Council, and I imagine quite a few other things that we haven't even begun to touch on. What kind of family did you come from? Mummy, dad, fun, happy, great siblings?
I think I had an amazing childhood. I feel I'm a very, very lucky person. I grew up in the western suburbs of Sydney, out near Liverpool, a little fibro home, and I say home with a capital H. There wasn't much of it, but it was very special to us. Mum, dad, my brother and sister. And for most of our life, either an uncle or a cousin or somebody from the country came and stayed with us while they were looking for work. Very close-knit, very loving family.
So the environment that you grew up in, from what I understand, your father instilled an incredible work ethic in you, and also, from what I can understand, a little bit of innovation.
Yeah, both mum and dad had incredible work ethic, a strong belief in family, community and country. My dad was involved with all local sort of little political sorts of things. Any community group, he'd get himself involved, and he wasn't a scream and shouter, he was a doer. He was also a bit of an inventor. In those days, I mean, it's a hell of a long time ago now, if you needed something and you couldn't afford it, you'd think of a way to build it or reuse something to create the same sort of thing.
A little bit more sustainable than today.
Yeah, we didn't waste a lot. If you might not remember, but back those days, a bedroom was about 8 foot by 8 foot, 2.4 by 2.4.
Wow.
We didn't have a stack of things. I mean, I love the old 50s homes. They're small and contained, and you realise when you go into them that we just didn't have a lot of stuff, and whatever we had to have a function and a purpose.
Which I think is the way we should probably be living today, but we have such a different way of doing things, and probably not necessarily the right way. So, school for you, not your favourite place?
Well, it was because I was an amazing athlete.
Were you?
Yeah, I was, amazing athlete. Give myself a rap there. I was good at everything. Interesting, and I got this off my dad, and I tell this story a little bit lately. When I was, whenever we'd go to a carnival or anything, Dad would say, "Oh, you'll go well, mate. You're a Dubois. You're the best at everything." Well, it wasn't until I was about 12 years old that I realised he was just saying that. I actually thought, for some reason, because we were Dubois in our little pod, we were the ones that were good at everything. I actually believed that. So when I was in a running race, I started the running race believing, of course, I'm going to win.
I'm a Dubois.
Dubois,
the Dubois have always won.
And then after a while, I don't know when it was, but I realised, he's just saying that. I mean, we're not the best at everything, but it instilled in me a real sense of confidence, and I think that's very important. I think, unfortunately, it's one of the things that a lot of young men and women in this country lack is self-esteem, and I had it in bucket loads.
I think self-esteem changes your life and makes things, a lot easier sometimes when you feel really good about being able to achieve things. So we're a great athlete, but we've got dyslexia.
Yeah, I couldn't read and write.
So we can't read and write, but we can run like hell.
But it was that confidence, though, that allowed me to get through that. I always tell this story. Left school, I couldn't read or write, but I remember, and I'd write it, but I was a good businessman, there's no doubt about it. And I remember I would write TH and then just scribble the rest because I couldn't spell 1,000 on a check. And even when I wrote my first $1 million check, I can't even say the word million now, but I quite frankly, I couldn't even spell 1 million now.
Oh my goodness!
It's just a bit of an MIL or whatever.
And then you just kind of just like drag it down.
I just drag it down, and because I do everything with such confidence, people believe that I know what I'm talking about.
But actually, you left, you went into business, you became a carpenter, mechanical carpenter.
That's right. I had one uncle was a mechanic, one uncle was a carpenter. I went with the carpenter. That was the choices you had in the western suburbs back then. I was never going to be a doctor, although if I had been, I would have been a good one.
No, I love that. That's perfect. So we're a carpenter, and we're actually a good carpenter. You're a good carpenter because you see the world differently laterally.
Yeah, definitely. I like to look at everything from every angle before I start, but also working early with my dad in our garage. As I said, if we needed something, Dad would build it. And like all little boys and little girls, we wanted to help Dad. Dad was one of those dads that wanted you to help as well. He wanted you to be self-sufficient. So, yeah, I started with my uncle, who was the carpenter. To this day, in my opinion, the best craftsman I've ever seen. He could make in poetry with timber. There's no doubt about it. He's amazing with his hands, but he didn't have a very good managerial skills. So
in fact, he was completely rubbish. He landed up working for you in the end, but he taught you all the things you needed to know.
Yeah, he did. We came to a disagreement in about my third year of my apprenticeship, and it was about money. And at that time, I was sort of managing the books. I was looking after the business side of it. He decided I wasn't worth as much money as I thought I was worth, so we parted companies there, but it was only 6 months later he came back and he was working for me, which I needed because I still needed him to sign off my ticket.
Oh, that is hysterical. Just something that we touched on earlier, and I know that we weren't going to mention it, but I do think it's really important that we do mention that your father actually developed the perfect world-class stretcher, which is used in the rest of the world.
And the reason I didn't want to talk about it because it just upsets me. My dad, it's a patent that he still has. There was a tender put out by New South Wales government to come up with a stretcher that they didn't think could be made. As it happened, he developed that stretcher, but the government still went and brought the other stretcher from America. And then it was only about a month later, the American company that sold those stretchers to Australia came to our home in Liverpool and knocked on the door and said, listen, we know we won that tender, but there's a whole lot of political reasons for that. We want to buy your stretcher and those ideas. Which was sort of heartbreaking because that decision by the government had set our family broke. But those people actually were amazing. They cut my dad a check within a week, which took us out of debt, and then they paid my dad for the rest of his life.
That's kind of incredible. Yeah, I get goosebumps when I hear that. Actually, I'm glad I brought that story up because that's actually a sad story, but it turns into a good luck story in the end.
They flew us all out to America, and the whole family. They flew us all out first class, which is amazing. My mum had been flying. It was the first time for both mum and dad in a plane, and
really?
And we were into the meals. My mum called out across the plane up there in first class, which really embarrassed me. Baz, will they tell us when we're going to take off? And we'd already taken off. We'd been flying for half an hour. It's quite funny. But then the owner of the company there in Cincinnati recognised the skill of my dad and he wanted to reward it. And my dad gave them many ideas in the rest of his life, which they now commercialise. As I said, this was a talent Australia had and just let go.
It's a pretty incredible story. So we are now out there. We're leading the charge with the uncle who's working for you. We've actually really got our own construction company that's sort of launching and starting, and we're starting to make a lot of money.
Yeah, I did well. My passion was design, though. So we not only had a construction company, I started a joinery company. I had a kitchen company where we designed and built kitchens, staircases, custom joinery as well. We even built furniture back then. But then I started to fall in love with girls and chase people around the world.
Oh, you got normal.
Got normal. And I also discovered travel. I was an avid snow skier, so I traveled the world snow skiing. I was making a lot of money and I was still only a young guy, and I'm from the western suburbs of Sydney. It was a small place. I did my first trip overseas and I was only 22 or 23, something like that. and I just realised right there, I thought I was a big fish I was a big fish in a small bowl. I realised how small the bowl, how big the bowl really is, and how small a fish I really was. So with that and my quest to be, at the top level of everything, I didn't want to just be good at one thing. I wanted to be good at everything. And travel just opened so much up for me, and came back to Australia with a lot of different ideas and a lot of different philosophies. And I developed, and I made money.
You were very successful. You were successful financially, but also successful from a craft point of view. So,
Definitely.
you kind of reached. But life didn't always go that well, did it? It suddenly had a kind of crunch point for you.
Yeah, it was as an egotistical male. Listen to my voice. I'm already gone talking about this, but when my mum got cancer, that was in 1992. It was really tough. It was really tough. We're a very close family. And all of a sudden, for the first time in my life, we weren't the best at everything. In fact, we had no control whatsoever over that. And as much as she lasted just over 10 years, it was really, the last couple of years particularly, I was approaching my middle age, let's call it a crisis period. This is, I know now because of my work with people in depression, that this is a time where we start to realise who we are. And it was, I'm not going to say any part of my life was a hiccup, but it was a dark time, and not being able to control what was happening to Mum, not being able to buy anything that could fix it. It really started. It started me resenting a lot of things. I was resenting just lots of things. But anyway, a long story short, Mum finally passed in 2004. And it was only 12 months later than Leonie, my wife, got cancer. And Leonie,
she got cervical cancer, didn't she?
Yeah.
And you were desperate for children.
We had been trying to have children for about 5 years at that stage. We'd had 13 attempts, failed attempts of IVF. I think we were pregnant with twins on the last time when she got the cancer, and realised then, that wasn't going to happen naturally. That again pushed my depression even further. And to my wife's credit, though, she's an incredible person. She realised that from Mum and a few other personal things that had happened in our life, I wasn't the same guy I used to be. I didn't have the same confidence. I'd lost some self-esteem. There's no doubt about that. And to say that now seems quite strange to me, because this is a guy that everybody talks to thinks he's got an ego bigger than a barn. But I was struggling. There's no doubt about it. And Leonie realised that. She read up on depression, and she realised I needed to talk about that. But I just thought, I'm not happy here. I hate this house. I remember sitting in front of my penthouse in Bondi Beach, one of the most expensive penthouses in Bondi Beach, and I just said, I just freaking hate this place. I hate everybody here. I just want to go.
That's how you feel when you have depression,
yeah.
though, isn't it?
You
Nothing feels good, valuable.
Yeah, well, that's exactly how I was. And I went in there and I said to that night, I said, the last time I was happy was when I was a little kid driving my little tinny up and down the Georges River. I can't remember happiness since then. It's all just been hard work. And I said, I want to do that again. Mum and Dad and my brothers and sisters, we used to dream about travelling around the world in a yacht. And
I love the story about how you used to go just to...
we didn't have anything. And the big outing for us, we couldn't afford the Easter show, but we used to go to the boat show at the Horden Pavilion. And the five of us would, because they'd let you get into the boat, and we'd take our shoes off, and with our socks, we'd all sit down in the cabin of a little boat there, one that we'd all chosen together, that we'd never, ever be able to afford. And we'd sit in there and we'd talk about what we'd do if we owned it. And those memories, look, you're tearing me up.
I know.
Those memories got us through to the next year. And then we talk about what we said last year and what we do this year, and we did that for a decade. So I said to my dad in 2005, I'm not going to wait till you're dying to say we're going to hang out together. I said, there's a market crash coming. I can read that like a book. I started liquidating all my property and all my shares. First, the property I started to let go of, and I'd amassed a decent portfolio. There's no doubt about that. So I started to sell everything out, and I went over to the Paris Boat Show in 2005, I think it was, and we bought a beautiful yacht there, so they started building that in 2006, and we commissioned that in 2007. In 2007, I'd sold everything out, and Dad and I had planned to sail around the world. And I figured best to start somewhere else, otherwise I'd never leave. So we were going to sail from France back to Australia. In the Mediterranean, again, it's another world. I mean, your 2-day sail from Italy to Africa or Corsica to Nice, where it was one of my best ever trips. It was overnight under a full moon with my dad and sister. Dolphins accompanied us the whole way. And I went from the south of France to Corsica. I mean, how is this possible? I mean, for someone who loves yachting, that's just an amazing thing. So I rang Leonie and I said, listen, babe, I'm not gonna travel straight back to Australia. Come over and check this out. She hated the idea of boats, but she just wanted me to get better. That's all she wanted. So she came over and realised also this is beautiful. All of a sudden, she loves boats too. So for the next 6 years, Leonie and I spent 6 months of the year on the boat in Europe and 6 months of the year back in our home in Bondi Beach. Dad lasted 3 seasons with me and he passed away.
That's pretty. But you know what? You did it.
Yeah,
you did it. You had that experience with him. Thank God you bit the bullet and you went, let's go.
Yeah. And Leonie's big focus was still to have children. No, I'd lost sight of that, and but I was coming out of my depression slowly, and realised how important it would be if we could still have children. Getting on in age though, and Leonie discovered surrogacy in India.
You're listening to 89.7 FM Eastside Radio. This is Natasha and The Dialogue Show. I'm interviewing Barry Dubois, who is the co-host on Channel 10's The Living Room, a remarkable man with an incredibly remarkable story. Now, Barry, let's talk a little bit about how The Living Room happened. How did you become a TV personality?
I got a couple of phone calls, just jumping back a little bit there. I got a couple of phone calls because a mate of mine had done something I told him not to do. He always said I should be on TV.
You didn't want to be on TV,
no,
though,
not
did
at
you?
all.
It was just not your thing.
Pete Cahoon is a great mate of mine. He's on Better Homes, and he's also on he's got his own show, which is one of my favourites, called Australian Sandcastles, where he goes in and looks at these beautiful sandcastles around Australia. But he got asked to do a screen test for The Renovators, which is a Channel 10 show, which he was never interested in doing. So he thought to himself, you know what, I'll send him in a tape, but I'll fill it up with Baz. I'll be in it too, but I'll just see what they say. And he sent that tape in, and I was very lucky that one of the EPs of Shine there said, hey, I like that Pete guy, but that guy on the boat is a cracker. He's brilliant. At the time, I was 118 kilos, a big, strong, strapping bloke, and a bit rough around the edges, but I knew what I was talking about. He could see that. And they rang me 3 or 4 times and said, we'd like you to come and do a screen test for a show called The Renovators. I said, no, I'm not interested in doing TV. And I said, I don't know if you know who I am, but I sail around the world with my wife, and we're trying to have children. We're not interested in TV. I haven't got the head for it anyway. And they insisted. They kept calling and they kept calling. Well, anyway, we're on our fifth time of surrogacy, which meant I flew into India and I did my sperm deposit and all that sort of stuff. But I'd had these really bad headaches in the months leading up to that trip. I'd been surfing at Christmas and I'd cracked my neck, and since then I'd had really bad headaches, and I was going to the physiotherapist, and the physiotherapist said, Baz, if you're going to go away for a week again, just go in and get an MRI before you go. I think it was a CAT scan, actually, a CAT scan. And when you get back, we'll have a look at the CAT scan together, and we'll determine how we're going to fix this bad neck of yours. And he was just a physiotherapist. So I went and did the CAT scan, and I headed off to India, and that was our 5th occasion. Whilst I was in India, I had a tuk-tuk accident. I was in a tuk-tuk accident in Mumbai, yeah. And on that night, my head went completely pins and needles, and right down one side of my body was all pins and needles. And I thought, there's something more wrong with me. I know there is. So I hate the doctors, but when I got back home, I went straight to the doctors to pick up this CAT scan and head off. And you know the story. I mean, I had a big, massive tumour in my brain there. And
you have cancer.
Yeah, I live with cancer.
You have cancer. You live with cancer, which is quite overwhelming. Not only do you have cancer, I mean, it has had an unbelievable effect on your vertebra. You're missing one,
I lost my
aren't you?
vertebrae.
Yes.
Yeah, I've lost the C1, and we've had to fuse 2, 3, and 4 together. And then Timmy Steele, of amazing surgeons, created a bracket that it goes from the fusion in my spine, which screwed in with a couple of self-tappers into the back of my skull.
So basically, you're the real bionic man. I mean, you're titanium.
I'm the real
I
wouldn't say bionic. I'd say I'm the tin man.
You're titanium. But listen, the interesting thing about this whole thing was, you know, you go to the doctor, you think, I've got, stiff neck or there's something else wrong. She looks at you with total shock on her face and...
Well, because I'd never been to I don't like going to the doctors. This woman didn't know me, and she read their report, and she just, I think she was only a young lady, and she started to cry, and she just said to me, "Have you got family?" And I said, "God, relax. Well, what's wrong?" I wasn't really interested in her opinion because I just wanted to get out and get to the physio and get this net fixed. But she said, no, you've got real problems here. This isn't good at all. And she said, you need a specialist now. And she actually called the hospital because she wanted me to go in an ambulance to the hospital because she realised I'd lost the connection.
Oh my
Effectively,
goodness.
there was no connection between my spine and my skull. No physical. There was a spinal cord going through there, but there was nothing protecting it. Because that crunch I heard at Christmas was the last of the C1 just caving in. It was just crumbled mess in there. I was very, very lucky through a few contacts to meet Tim Steele, the head guy there at St Vincent's. He said to me there and then he didn't know what he was going to do, but he was going to give it his best shot. One of the other doctors said they recommended not bothering with the surgery because I probably only had about 3 months to live because the tumour was so aggressive. As it was, though, I can put up with a lot of pain, and I'd probably put up with this pain a lot longer than we thought. They thought, if this has happened since Christmas, you're finished in another couple of weeks. And I said, no, you guys do whatever you got to do. I'll do the rest. Don't worry about that. But by chance, and this is where my TV career started right there.
You're dying, presumably, as far as everyone else is, you're on your way out.
In my mind, I was never dying. But
you see, I like that.
Yeah, I was never dying. But it was a pretty somber moment. My wife was upset and the doctors were upset. Everybody around me was upset. And I turned on the phone to ring up my brother because I needed to talk to him as well and maybe start sorting some stuff out. And who should ring me for the fifth time but the casting agent for the renovators? And I just thought that was funny. I nearly threw the phone out the window. I just thought, you've got no idea. This is ridiculous that you've called me now. I've said 4 times I don't want to do this, and casting agents are really upbeat people. Yeah. Hi, Barry. We're really keen. We really want to get you in. It'll be fun. And I look around the room, and everybody's got this dark shadow over it. I've said it a few times. I can remember every second of that moment. Every picture on the wall, every colour, everything is like I was in the third person, and that's how it was at that moment. I looked at this bloke on a phone to this upbeat casting agent who wants me to be on telly. I've just been told I've got 3 months to live. How ridiculous is all this? This can't be true. So I said, I'll tell you what, if you ring me up in 3 months, I'll be a lot more interested. And my take was I'll either be here or not then. And she rang me up in 3 months. I was on TV 3 months after that. Funny thing was, though, when the boss who saw that picture saw me, I was 118 kilos and I was a big, strong fella. When I walked into the casting room, I was 79 kilos.
All right, half the size. We're coming towards the end of the interview, so I want to quickly touch. I know, it just goes so quickly. I want to quickly touch on the living room.
Yeah.
Because the living room is... It's the living room, and your twins and your wife seem to be your happy place, your joy, your 100%. Life. You are living unwell, but in nirvana.
No, I'm well. I'm the luckiest bloke on earth. There's no doubt about it. I'm the happiest bloke on earth as well. So I ended up doing the renovators. We did that for a year. It didn't go as well as 10 expected it to do. I think they probably should have run it again, but they didn't. But as it happened, it was an upfront at Channel 10, and I met Amanda Keller. And honestly, we have been best friends since that meeting. We talked and talked and talked. There's a room full of celebrities, and the only two people we were interested in was each other, and we didn't stop talking. And little did I know, they'd already been talking to Amanda and Chris about a show called The Living Room. She went straight to the executives and said, that is the guy. He's just fantastic. I love him, and his take on design and his understanding of how things should be built, and that we talked about her renovations, we talked about our childhoods, we talked about everything. So she knew my whole life story in 3 hours. So we kept pushing on. Meanwhile, I'm still going to India to try and create surrogacy. I want to tell you a quick story. Our screen test for the four of us to come together, it was a little room in Bondi Beach. They invited all four of us to see if we would get on. Miguel probably told you this story, but we all arrived separately and landed in this little tiny studio apartment in Bondi Beach. And in a screen test, the producers were going to ask us some questions and get us to do some stuff. But we all sat down and we started talking from the second we sat down. And about an hour and a half later, the producer said, hey guys, can we just interrupt for a second? We don't have to bother with a screen test. You guys clearly work really well together. And we said, oh, okay. Do you want to go across to the icebergs, guys? So the four of us then went over to the icebergs for another 4 hours. And I liked it. I love saying it. We've been the best friends ever since. And the show's developed, I think, a lot differently to what it probably was planned to be. Miguel and I are experts at what we do. Amanda and Chris, Chris is obviously an expert. But he
does quite a lot of other stuff as well.
He does.
Travel.
But what I mean by that is we weren't ex-cricketers or something pretending to do DIY and cooking. We are experts at what we do. We're very passionate about Miguel and his cooking, the way he handles food, the way he treats food. I'm very passionate about empowering people to take control of their home space through good design, sustainable design, and if they can, some DIY. So that, with the backing of Chris and Amanda and the love that all four of us have for each other, made that show, I think, one of the best ways to spend your Friday afternoon.
You are also bloody funny.
You
are bloody funny. Let's be honest.
Amanda Keller is the funniest, wittiest person on earth. We are four very different people, and we've all got our individual wit, and she has a way of bringing it out of all of us.
She's brilliant. I love the flirting, the sort of subtle flirting. It's really clever. It's really fun.
It's not subtle.
No, it's not subtle at all. In the last minute that we have, because I could talk to you forever and ever. Yes. The twins.
Oh, my.
You had the twins.
Yep,
the twins came, the beautiful girls.
Boy and girl.
Yeah, that's right. A boy and a girl.
Yep.
We've got Bennett and Arabella. And we had surrogacy from India.
Yeah, that was our 7th time. We were 6 months into the show in the living room. And there it was. We had some luck. We had some ups and downs through the pregnancy, but we finally got there. And my angels were born. That's another story in itself. But all the love in the world came together.
So you have actually had, to this point, an incredibly remarkable life.
Yeah.
A remarkable life. You're a remarkable man.
Thank you.
And what I love is that you seem to have had so many experiences, and yet you are just out there fighting for joy and fighting for goodness and fighting for all the things that are
I'm living for it. I'm not fighting for it. I do what I love, and I love what I do. I know we haven't got much time, and I do want to say this. So last week I was appointed or asked to join the board of Are You OK Day, which is very special to me, and this is something, it's a prevention of suicide and understanding depression better. I've been a proud ambassador, as Miguel has been a proud ambassador of that, but now my future is working hard with that, and of course Cancer Council. I'm doing my best to tell my story so that others their journey might be a little easier and see that there is light at the end of the tunnel. But that's where I'll be heading with the show. The show's the show for the rest of our lives. We hope we want to be 4 old grey people sitting on that lounge.
I'm going to interview you in 10 years' time.
Yeah,
because I reckon in the next 10 years we're going to have some more remarkable stories.
We will.
You've been listening to 89.7 FM Eastside Radio. This is Natasha Moy and The Dialogue. I have been interviewing Barry Dubois, the co-host of The Living Room on Channel 10. We've come to the end of the interview. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute joy interviewing you.
Thank you, Natasha. I've enjoyed the chat.